Welcome to the world of science fiction where extraordinary tales come to life. Enjoy the journey. The Vorthan Dominion did not take prisoners. They exterminated, conquered, erased. Yet Captain Jace Cordis, the last surviving soldier of the Terran 7th Legion, stood in chains before the Vorthan Empress Lara, her 6 crimson eyes burning with cold amusement. "You fought well, human," she hissed, her voice like grinding metal. "But your species is dead. Why resist?" Jace spat blood on the polished obsidian floor. "We're harder to kill than you think." The crowd of Vorthan nobles murmured. No slave had ever dared speak to the Empress like that. Zalara's lips curled into a predator smile. "Then prove it." With a wave of her clawed hand, the floor beneath Jace opened, and he fell into darkness. The arena of blood. Jace landed hard on scorched sand, the roar of thousands of Vorthan spectators shaking the air. Above him, holographic screens displayed his face. Pale, bruised, but unbroken. A mechanized voice boomed. "Human, survivor of Terra, you will fight, you will bleed, and when you beg for death, we will laugh." The gates across the arena groaned open. Out slithered a Sithix warbeast, a creature of fangs and venom, bred only for slaughter. Jace had no weapon, no armor, only his rage. The beast lunged. Jace moved. A lifetime of war had honed his instincts. He sidestepped, grabbed a broken chain from the ground, and whipped it around the Sithix's throat. The crowd fell silent. The beast thrashed, but Jace held on, his muscles screaming. "This is for Earth," he growled. With a final wrench, the Sithix collapsed. Dead. The arena erupted, not in cheers, but in outrage. No slave had ever won so quickly. High above, Empress Lara leaned forward, her eyes alight with something new. Interest. "Bring me the human," she commanded. Jace didn't know it yet, but his defiance had just changed the galaxy forever. The Vorthan guards dragged Jace through the labyrinthine halls of the obsidian spire, their claws digging into his arms. He had expected execution. Instead, they threw him into a circular chamber lined with jagged obsidian spikes. At the center stood Warlord Draxus, the Dominion's champion, a towering brute with armored plating grafted onto his flesh. His 4 arms flexed, each ending in razor-sharp talons. "The Empress wishes to see your limits, human," Draxus growled. "I am here to break them." Jace wiped blood from his split lip. "You'll have to kill me first." Draxus laughed, a sound like grinding bones. "Death is too kind. You will wish for it." A gong sounded. Draxus moved faster than anything Jace had ever faced. A clawed fist smashed into his ribs, sending him skidding across the floor. Pain exploded through his body, but he forced himself up. "Pathetic," Draxus sneered. "Your species was weak. That's why we burned your worlds." Jace's vision turned red. He feinted left, then drove his elbow into Draxus' throat. The warlord staggered, snarling, but Jace wasn't done. He grabbed a shard of broken obsidian from the ground and slashed across Draxus' face. Black blood sprayed. The crowd roared. Draxus bellowed in rage, but Jace pressed the attack, driving the warlord back. For the first time, fear flickered in the Vorthan's eyes. "You talk too much," Jace spat. Then, a voice in his mind. "Stop. If you kill him, they will execute you." Jace froze. The voice wasn't his own. Draxus seized the opening, slamming a fist into Jace's gut. He crumpled, gasping. "Finish him," the crowd chanted. But Draxus hesitated. The Empress had given orders. The human was to be tested, not slain. With a snarl, he kicked Jace in the ribs. "You live, for now." That night, in his cell, the voice returned. "You fight well, human, but you cannot win alone." Jace scanned the shadows. Who's there? A figure emerged, a Crithian, their kind known as spies and assassins. Silver skin, pupil-less eyes, and a voice like liquid metal. My name is Vera. I am a friend. Jace scoffed. I don't have friends here. You do now. Vera pressed a small device into his palm. This will disable your collar. When the time comes, run. Jace frowned. Why help me? Vera's lips curled. Because the Dominion fears your kind, and that makes you valuable. Then, like smoke, they were gone. The next morning, Empress Zalara summoned him. Her throne room was a monument to conquest, skulls of 100 species embedded in the walls. She studied Jace like a specimen. You interest me, human. Graxis has not bulled in decades. Jace met her gaze. I'll do worse if you give me a real fight. Zalara laughed. Arrogance. I like that. She leaned forward. Serve me. Become my champion, and I will spare your life. Jace clenched his fists. I'd rather die. Then you will, she said coldly. Tomorrow you face the Hollow Maw, a beast that has slain thousands. If you survive, we will speak again. As guards dragged him away, Jace smirked. He had no intention of dying, and Vera's device burned in his grip. The Hollow Maw was not a beast. It was a nightmare given flesh. Jace stood in the center of the arena, the sand beneath his feet still stained with the blood of yesterday's victims. The crowd roared above him, their voices a tidal wave of hunger. They wanted death. They wanted his death. Across from him, the iron gates groaned open. A low guttural hiss slithered through the air. Then it emerged. The Hollow Maw was a mass of writhing tendrils, each tipped with a jagged, serrated mouth. No eyes, no face, just hunger. It moved like liquid shadow, its body undulating as it sensed prey. Jace's grip tightened around the obsidian shard hidden in his palm. Not today, he muttered. The creature struck faster than thought. A whip-like tendril lashed out, slicing across Jace's shoulder. He barely dodged the next one, rolling as another barbed limb speared the ground where he had stood. The crowd screamed for blood. Jace moved. He darted forward, slashing at the closest tendril. Black ichor sprayed, and the maw shrieked, a sound like metal tearing. It recoiled, then attacked with twice the fury. Jace ducked, weaved, but a barbed limb caught his leg, dragging him down. The maw loomed over him, its countless maws opening wide. DZZZT. A pulse of blue energy slammed into the creature, sending it screeching back. Jace twisted his head. Vera stood at the arena's edge, a stolen shock staff in hand. Run, human. Jace didn't hesitate. He sprinted toward the Crithian as the Hollow Maw writhed, disoriented. Vera grabbed his arm, yanking him into a hidden tunnel beneath the stands. You're insane, Jace gasped. Vera's silver lips curled. And you're welcome. The tunnels beneath the arena were a maze of rusted metal and flickering lights. Vera moved like a ghost, guiding Jace through the shadows. Why risk your life for me? Jace demanded. Because you're the key, Vera said simply. To what? To ending the Dominion. Jace stopped dead. Vera turned, their pupil-less eyes gleaming. You think humanity is extinct. You're wrong. There's a colony, a last stronghold. And they're planning something big. Jace's pulse roared in his ears. Where? The dead zone, beyond Dominion sensors. A spark ignited in Jace's chest. Hope. But then, boots echoed down the corridor. Vorthan guards. They found us. Vera hissed. Jace bared his teeth. Then we fight. Empress Zalara watched the security feeds with cold fury. The human had escaped. And worse, he had help. Her claws dug into the armrests of her throne. Find them, she ordered. Bring me the human's head, and the traitors with it. Her high executioner bowed. And if they reach the dead zone. Zalara's smile was venom. Then we burn it to ashes. The stolen Dominion skimmer screamed through the asteroid belt, its engines pushed to the breaking point. Behind them, 3 Vorthan pursuit ships weaved through the floating debris, plasma cannons glowing hot. Jace gripped the controls, his knuckles white. They're gaining. Vera's fingers danced across the stolen command console, their silver skin reflecting the flashing alert lights. The dead zone is close. Just a little farther. A plasma bolt seared past the cockpit, shaking the ship violently. Warning sirens wailed. Little farther might be too late. Jace snarled, wrenching the controls hard to the left as another blast nearly sheared off their starboard wing. Ahead, space itself seemed to warp, a swirling vortex of dark energy, blotting out the stars. The dead zone, a graveyard of dead planets and forgotten battles, where Dominion sensors failed, and only the desperate dared to tread. Vera's voice was tense. We have to jump now. The distortion will scramble their tracking systems. Jace hesitated. And ours? Yes. Meaning if they went in, they might never come out. Another blast rocked the ship. No choice. Jace punched the thrusters. Hold on. The skimmer lurched forward, and then space ripped apart around them. Silence. Darkness. Then, a fleet. Not Dominion. Not Crithian. Human. Jace's breath caught in his throat. Dozens of ships, patched together from salvage and stolen tech, floated in the void. Fighters bearing the old Terran sigil. A massive, jury-rigged carrier at the center. Vera exhaled sharply. I told you they were alive. A crackling voice burst over the comms. Unidentified vessel. This is Captain Ilias Vance of the Phoenix Remnant. Identify yourself or be fired upon. Jace's hands shook. He opened the channel. This is Captain Jace Cordis, Terran 7th Legion. A pause. Then, Goddamn. Welcome home, Captain. Zalara's throne room was silent as a tomb. Her spies had failed. The human had escaped. Worse, he had reached them. The last remnants of Terra. Her high executioner knelt, awaiting orders. She rose, her claws glinting in the dim light. Ready the fleet. All of it, Empress. Her golden eyes burned. Burn the dead zone to cinders. Leave nothing alive. Aboard the Phoenix Remnant, Jace stood before a war council of the last free humans. Captain Vance, a grizzled veteran with cybernetic eyes, pointed at the star map. The Dominion doesn't know our exact location yet, but they will. And when they come, they'll come with everything. Jace crossed his arms. Then we hit them first. Murmurs spread through the room. Vera stepped forward. There is another way. The Crithian resistance is ready to rise. If we strike together. No, Jace cut them off. We don't need more allies. We need a weapon. Vance frowned. What weapon? Jace smiled. Me. 2 days later, a lone transmission echoed across Dominion channels. A human voice. Zalara, you want me? Come and get me. Attached were coordinates. The ruins of Terra. The ruins of Earth stretched before Jace like a shattered tomb. Once, this had been blue skies and green forests. Now only skeletal husks of cities remained, their bones picked clean by centuries of orbital bombardment. The air smelled of ozone and old death. Behind him, the Phoenix Remnant's engines hummed as the last human warships took position. Around them, hidden in the debris fields, Crithian stealth ships waited like coiled vipers. Vera materialized at his side, their silver skin reflecting the sickly orange glow of Earth's dying sun. She'll come, but this is madness. Jace. Jace checked his plasma rifle. Only kind of plan that works against gods. A klaxon blared. Dominion fleet exiting warp. Vance's voice crackled over the comms. The sky ripped open. First came the drones, thousands of them, swarming like metallic locusts. Then the destroyers, their black hulls blotting out the stars. And finally, the Dreadfang, Zalara's flagship, a monstrous wedge of dark alloy and glowing weapons. Her face appeared on every screen. Jace Cordis, you disappoint me. I expected a warrior, not a suicide. Jace smiled. Stick around. I'll surprise you. The first wave hit like a thunderclap. Dominion plasma fire turned the ruins into molten glass as human and Crithian ships darted through the storm. Jace sprinted through the collapsing streets, his boots kicking up centuries-old ash. Now, Vance. Above, the Phoenix remnant unleashed its secret weapon, an ancient Terran EMP warhead. The pulse washed over the drones, sending them crashing like dead birds. Solara's laughter echoed. Clever, but I have more. The Dreadfang's main cannon began to glow. Vera grabbed Jace's arm. The core. Their ships have a weakness. The power relays in thee. A plasma bolt tore through their chest. Jace caught them as they fell. Finish it, Vera whispered, silver blood bubbling at their lips. Jace lowered them gently, then turned toward the Dreadfang. Vance, covering fire on my mark. He ran. Through fire. Through death. Toward the descending ramp of the flagship. Solara waited, her claws tapping the armrests. You actually came. Jace raised his rifle. For them. For Earth. For every soul you burned. She sighed. And now you die like they did. Her guards attacked. Jace moved like lightning. A spinning kick here, a point-blank headshot there. Blood slicked the floor. Solara rose. Enough. She moved faster than sight, her claws raking across Jace's chest. He staggered, tasting copper. You're strong, he coughed. But we've got one thing you don't. And what's that? Jace grinned. Nothing left to lose. He slammed his fist onto the emergency console. The ship's core overloaded. The explosion lit up Earth's sky like a newborn sun. When the smoke cleared, the Dreadfang was gone. The Dominion fleet, leaderless, broke like a wave against the rocks. Aboard the Phoenix remnant, Vance watched the sensors in disbelief. He did it. On the surface, in the shadow of a broken monument, a single figure stirred. Jace opened his eyes to a sky full of stars. And for the first time in centuries, Earth was free. Epilogue. The galaxy would remember this day. The day a slave became a legend. The day fire answered fire. The day humanity rose again.